Let me tell you what, I'm beyond happy. This has been a dream for me for a long time. Obviously, being a massive boxing fan my whole life, I've said it many times. Some of the baddest dudes that have ever walked the face of the earth have come out of Mexico, and boxing is so ingrained in the culture there. You know, Mexicans have boxing gloves running through their veins, and it was always my dream to to make the people of Mexico love this sport the way that they love boxing. And I think that now, finally, with this PI becoming a reality, you're going to see a big change in mixed martial arts over the next 5 years in Mexico.
Dana, obviously, the big question is you have a lot of markets growing, like Africa, Russia, probably Asia, not only China, Japan, and Korea. Another. Why Mexico now? Why? I mean, because obviously there's a lot of other markets that will say, "Hey, we also have a lot of talent. Why going to Mexico first?"
That's a good question. I mean, some of the greatest fighters, like I said earlier, that have ever walked the face of the earth have come out of Mexico. And the whole, I went to a fight. I'm trying to remember who it was. It was what's his name? The kid out of Tijuana. Uh, the boxer out of Tijuana.
Morales,
Was
maybe Eric Morales.
Morales.
Yeah.
I saw Morales versus, I think, Poison Junior Jones in a bull ring in Tijuana. One of the sickest fucking things I've ever been a part of, man. That fight was so awesome. And obviously, Julio César Chávez, when he fought Greg Haugen in Mexico City, and he came out, and the people were all going crazy. I mean, Mexico is just there's such an amazing history and culture of boxing in Mexico. And I've always wanted to have even this much of that type of an impact with mixed martial arts and with the UFC. So it's been a very important market to me since day one. And it's been something that I've been working on, this whole time. But now, now that the UFC has become so successful, and as we continue to reinvest in the sport, which is what boxing never did, this will be our third PI. Vegas, we got Shanghai, we got Mexico City, and then the next one will be in probably Abu Dhabi. And then after that, I want to focus on Africa and building one there. So this is just part of the, my master plan, but it's finally happening in Mexico. And the reason is because I love and respect, the history of fighting coming out of Mexico.
So with the
and South America as a whole.
Yeah, with the news, obviously, the MMA community, not only in Mexico but in Argentina, Peru, Chile, Ecuador, a lot of the countries that are bringing more talent to the UFC are getting excited. What does it mean? I mean, what does it mean to have a PI in Mexico? Are there going to be like scouts, like bringing talent from all of these countries, only from Mexico? Coaches? What does it mean to have a Performance Institute in Mexico City?
So here's what happens at the UFCPI here in Las Vegas. What we do is all the fighters that are under contract can come in here and train and get ready for fights. Everything's free. Supplements are free. Their food is free. Physical therapy is free. The training is free. And, it's a great resource for the fighters. What I'm looking to do, and what we do in China is, the same thing applies, but we're bringing in a lot of talent and cultivating talent in the PI there. That's exactly what I want to do with the PI in Mexico City. I want to bring in, kids off the streets, give them a way to get off the streets, come in, train, learn how to train properly, learn how to eat properly, take the proper supplements that they need to take, and, give these kids an opportunity to change them and their families' lives. That's what I'm looking for.
And this has been like kind of a personal project for you, because I guess when we started talking about this in 2019, I guess, and then in 2020 the problem with the landlord happened.
No. In 2020, COVID hit.
Yeah.
So what happened was we had a spot, we were ready to go. COVID hit. Then the whole deal ended up blowing up. Thank God it worked out perfectly. And then we found this new spot that I'm really happy with. It's going to be like 32,000 square feet. it's just such, there's going to be MMA coaching there, strength and conditioning, physical therapy, nutrition, the whole thing. It's an incredible opportunity for young Mexican kids that are on the streets down there, or want to become professional athletes.
Recently, I spoke with Dave Shaw, and told me if we get another Brandon from this PI, the investment will be enough. I mean, it will be worth. So, and I remember we've been talking for this for a decade when the first development program started.
It's not if. It will absolutely, positively happen. We built the PI in China, and look at Weili Zhang. Weili Zhang makes the entire thing worth it. That's just one person, You also got Leach and tons of other, Yan and tons of other talented fighters that are coming out of China now, right? Mexico is a whole nother ball game. You know what I mean? I'm telling you, the where these kids come from, how they grow up. When they talk about Mexican immigrants that come over from Mexico to the United States, they're some of the best people in the world that you have. They're hard workers, they're loyal people, and they're very loyal to their own. People who are Mexican-born Mexicans are so proud of who they are and where they're from and their culture. They're very family-oriented, I'm telling you, when we get this PI open, we ain't just talking about one Mexican champion. Mexico is going to start being like Brazil. You know what I mean? This whole thing sort of started down in Brazil. And if you look at how much talent comes out of Brazil, the same thing is going to happen in Mexico. You're talking about tough, talented, gritty, hardworking people that once they get into an environment like this at a young age, we're going to be pumping out world champion after world champion after world champion.
When are you expecting to see the results? Because it took 10 years when the first development program, the first Tough Latin America. But from that a decade ago, we had Jair there, we had Brandon there, we had Chito there, and we're talking, and there's a lot of fighters that had a lot of fights and long careers, but those three, are like championship level fighters, right? Not just big stars, not just popular stars, but Brandon, Jair, and Chito are really close to, or in the case of Brandon, he's already a champion.
They were all part of our first initiative when we went down into South America and started to look for talent, bring people over here to train in these camps. They were part of that first wave. 5 years. In 5 years, after this place opens and we start training the first person that walks through the door, in 5 years, you're going to see, there's going to be a, what's the word I'm looking for? There's going to be a Mexican invasion into the UFC. It's going to be fun to watch.
And seems like having Brandon as a champion, it's like an opportunity that can be missed, because he's so popular here. He's and he fought twice here, but he hasn't been here like as a champion. And I know you might remember what happened when Kane brought the belt here.
You're absolutely right.
No,
you're right. He's a huge star. Moreno's a huge star, man. When we do signings with him, it's arguably he's the biggest that we do. And nobody would love to bring him back to Mexico more than me. It's just got to, we're in this crazy position right now where we have all these places that we have to hit in the next year, and we're just trying to lay it out and figure it out.
We started talking about boxing, and right now feels like obviously Canelo is like the biggest star in boxing, but after him, there's not many Mexican boxers who have that amount of popularity among the fans. And Brandon just hit 2 million followers in Instagram, and his popularity keeps growing. What do you think in makes him like so popular? He's far away from what DJ did in the division. Well, he's probably more popular than DJ. More beloved by the fans, right?
Oh, 100%. He's probably I would say out of that division, he's the most famous kid to ever come out of that division. He's a massive superstar for us. Obviously he's not at Canelo's level, but for the UFC, he's as big a star as anybody is. Canelo obviously is, and why is Canelo that big of a star? because he is your stereotypical Mexican fighter. He's mean, he's nasty, he goes in there, he rips people to the body, likes to try to finish people. He's fun and exciting to watch, and he's everything you expect from a Mexican fighter. I love Canelo.
Just finally for me, a couple of years ago, we started talking about Brandon going through his first fight, and this comparison that he made, that I wanted to be the Julio César Chávez of MMA. And he keeps getting closer there. I mean, and even now, Chavez, every time he's fighting, he sends messages on his social media, and he watches his fights. How far you think he's from getting that, like the myth of Brandon Moreno getting close to the Chavez recognition in terms of MMA?
That's awesome. That's actually awesome, and I didn't know that. I love Julio César Chávez too. That would actually be a dream come true, I'm sure, for me and for him, is we do a big fight with him, defending his title in Mexico, and we get Julio César Chávez there ringside. That would be badass.
Yeah.